Good to see you from wherever you're watching us tonight. Thanks for joining us on the Thursday edition of the show. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Tonight, we're going to continue with our post-mortem of the 20th National Sports Festival. It's no longer news that Delta State will be the next host of the multi-sport event. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at some of the other things that didn't grab the headlines during the games. We'll do all of that for you as we move on. As you already know, it is important for us to know what we're talking about. All right, so it's important for us to know that you're there with us, and of course to know that you're watching everything we're doing right here on your award-winning Channels Television. Once again, I want to say thank you to you for joining us on the show tonight. We're going to be taking a look at all the things that I mentioned, a post-mortem of the National Sports Festival, and everything that we didn't get to talk about in detail as the event was going on. That's going to be what we're going to do on the show tonight. As we speak, match is currently going on in the UEFA Europa League. As a matter of fact, first half in the second leg of the quarterfinal matches have been played, and barely a few minutes into the second half, we'll talk about it. All of the matches have produced goals, and it's interesting to note. If we have time, we'll also go to Monte Carlo and talk about what happened today. World number one, Novak Djokovic, lost to Britain's number one, currently number one, Dan Evans, the biggest win of his career. For Rafael Nadal, he was able to beat Grigor Dimitrov and move on right there. And we'll also talk about football on the domestic scene as we go on the show. All right, so that's the outlook of the show tonight. Let's keep it going. Talk to us on all of these issues. All right, let me quickly introduce my partners on the show. They're seated with me in the Lagos studio. But let me just quickly say, as we move on, that we do expect to be joined by some critical stakeholders in Nigerian sports as we attempt to do a post-mortem of the National Sports Festival. I will not let the cat out of the bag just yet, so just sit down, relax, and I just can't tell you that there are people you would love to listen to. But as far as the guys in the studio goes, let me introduce them, starting from the guy sitting right next to me, Bolu Amoni joins me. Bolu, thanks for joining me tonight as we do a post-mortem of the National Sports Festival.
Yeah, it's good to be back again. You talk about the festival. Finally, despite all the drama off the field, on the field, the festival came, it's gone. Positives here, one or two glitches here and there, but they are positive to pick from it. And we talk about Europa League last season. Arsenal conceding late, but it looks like they are in for something big this time. 3 goals in the first half. That's something beautiful to look out for.
All right, Ikenna Okechukwu also joins us tonight, and it's interesting. Last week we were talking about the National Sports Festival. Everything has been concluded now. I guess we can say all is well that ends well.
Not all is well as well. Not all is well as well. But at least it's been done.
Okay.
Let's leave
it at that.
That applause is been done. At least considering what happened last year and what we went through this year, it's been done. So we'll look at it and see what we can take out of it, positively and negatively, and learn our lessons.
All right. Okay. I thought we were going to speak with some critical stakeholders on the show tonight. So let's just dive straight into it. We're going to talk to somebody who needs little or no introduction when we're talking Nigerian sports. Daniel Igali joins us now. He's the president of the Nigeria Wrestling Federation. He joins us on the show tonight to also talk about the National Sports Festival. Greetings to you, sir. Thanks for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
All right, so let's just dive straight into it. Let's talk about Bielsa and by extension wrestling events at the National Sports Festival and all of it. I want to congratulate you. Let me start with that. It was a decent outing for Bielsa at the just concluded National Sports Festival.
Well, thank you for the congratulations. You know, we're not surprised because we did our homework. We have a governor who is very passionate about sports and youth development, and we started our preparations right on time. Even with the several delays, we were ready, and I think it's the handiwork of preparations that showed up in Edo in the past 10 days.
All right, there's something we want you to help us understand as we try to unpack a lot of issues on the show tonight. The National Sports Festival, the way it is, as it currently is, do you think it has achieved its aim? Or do you think we need to take a look at it and put some changes to all of it? Or that the way it currently is okay, let's continue with it?
First and foremost, what's the aim of this National Sports Festival? Is for national integration and cohesion, is to provide competition for our athletes. It's our version of the Olympics. So if you look at those, does it achieve it or it doesn't? I mean, I've heard a lot of discussions around some issues of brigandage. I mean, some people got too passionate about winning or losing and caused chaos in several sporting facilities and sporting events. And so that has now warranted us to say we should even turn off the National Sports Festival and not have it. I don't think that's right. We can look at tweaking things. We can look at, you know, the National Sports Festival has been closed. It's been open. We've had in between where we've said you should bring in 10 over 23 or over 10 athletes that have done more than 3 festivals. You can go ahead with what you want to do to tweak it, but to completely say it's not achieved this purpose and we should completely scrap it, I think it's not the way to go.
Okay. Let me also ask you, as somebody who is at the helm, you're a commissioner, you're also double as a federation president, and taking a holistic look at sports, you're in the best position to answer all this question I'm about to ask. A lot of people question some of these federations, not yours, but some of these federations, and say one of the reasons they say the National Sports Fest should continue is because some of them do virtually nothing until maybe when the sports festival is set to take place. From your experience, is that true in most cases?
Well, we can get to that. But first and foremost, you know that federations, for the most part, get very little funding. And for a lot of federations, for 2 years, there are no competitions. If there will be competitions, then the president has to bring up money. And for those sports that people don't even know about, sports that are as remote as mine, you need to do a lot because nobody is even prepared to sponsor you except you have personal relationships with your state governments or governments of other states. So the festival is a veritable grounds for even competition, first and foremost. So we need to get that down. Secondly, the accusation that because most federations cannot wait until the festival to even get competitions is just what it is. The festival is meant to provide competition for athletes. But let us look at the festival as probably a festival not only of sports, but sometimes of culture, as we saw in Edo and we've seen in other places, but a place for competition among the elites, and that this is our version of the Olympics. If we look at it from that angle, I don't think there's any need for name calling or blaming. Let us take it for what it is. It is supposed to be our biggest event. And in wrestling, particularly at this event, this past festival, we had 7 national champions that were dethroned. So if you look at it from that perspective, I think it's achieving its purpose.
Okay, I agree with you on that. But with regards to taking it to the next level, you talked about national champions being dethroned. What about the new kids on the block that burst onto the scene. What can be done? Listening to you, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but listening to you, it appears like the federations cannot do it alone. So what can be done to ensure the talents discovered are nurtured and groomed to stardom? Not just you win something at the sports festival, you wait another 2 years for the sports festival to take place and come. And in between all of that, you're inactive. What can be done to ensure that in the prime of these athletes, they can get to win something for Nigeria and do well in the sport?
I completely get your drift, but let's also look at it from this perspective. And I'm going to give you the example of wrestling. In 2018, we had the African Championships for the first time. And kudos to Governor Wike, and I doff my hat for him. He was able to sponsor all 90 weight classes. That is 30 in cadet, 30 in junior, and 30 in senior. I can tell you that from 2018 till now, we have not been able to send one cadet athlete to the African Championships. That essentially tells you that we don't have the funds to expose these athletes. So if the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports does not support, and of course there are limited funds there, the only way you can expose these athletes is if you get funding. And since corporations, well-meaning individuals are not readily available to fund these athletes, it is very difficult, almost impossible, for some of these unknown sports to be funded to international tournaments. And that's where you are going to get the needed exposure for these athletes to get to the next level. So you are looking at a situation in a lot of sports, and wrestling inclusive, where when the likes of Adekure and Blessing, Oborodudu and all of them retired, because we just had a very few group of athletes, 4 or 5 of them that were able to take to everywhere, because those were the limits of our funds. When they retire, you're going to have another 6, 7, 8 years to be able to replace them. That is the problem we have. So if we're going to look at getting around this, we may not only be looking at a national sports festival, we should also be looking at a junior national sports festival, and that is separate from the school sports, where you have ages between kids between the ages of 14 and 17 competing. We should be looking at the ages of 17 to 20, so a junior national sports festival taking place. That now takes away this argument of open or closed festivals, because I think the federal government is essentially the veritable weapon to be able to use to achieve this purpose.
All right, I mean, on our screen, we're looking at swimming, and your state has been credited with a lot of improvements and a lot of achievements in swimming. But it also begs the question, some of these events that it appears like we're doing well when we see the National Sports Festival, do we stand a chance, if we put our acts together, do we stand a chance of doing well maybe at the Olympics, or grooming these athletes to compete favorably against the best in the world? In some of these events we are not popular in, but at the sports festival we see our athletes doing them.
Well, some events are a bit difficult. Swimming, for instance, we haven't done as well even in Africa, but I think it also has to do with competitions and training and swimming pools. And swimming is almost an elitist sport, because you hardly have swimming pools around for kids that are not doing well, or kids born by parents that live below the poverty line. I think the national federations need to do a bit more work on that. But like I've said, it's very difficult. Until you become a federation president, you don't understand the issues with funding. Funding is critical, and until we're able to get around this issue of funding, and that's where I have to give kudos to the current minister, who has been looking at avenues to have the corporate world involved in funding athletes, especially the ones going to the Olympics. But beyond the Olympics, when we're talking 4 years into the Olympics, where do we have the sponsors? How do we support these athletes? Swimming, for instance, is a sport where one athlete can win multiple medals. The case of Efezibe, Gagbe, and Bayelsa, who won 8 gold medals, for instance. If we can get athletes to that level, where at the continental, Commonwealth, and Olympic levels, they are able to replicate the world standards and are able to win medals for us, it would be something that Nigeria would be grateful for. But that does not happen in quite a few sports. Fortunately, we also still have a few sports that can compete at that level, and I think we should be looking at comparative advantages and focusing on those sports that can do better internationally.
Let's take the scope of this discussion and center on wrestling. And as we look forward to the Olympics, what should Nigerians expect from our wrestlers against the backdrop of all that you've said about funds, about the limits to which the federations can go in supporting these athletes? What is right in front of us is Tokyo. So what should Nigerians be expecting? And I must tell you that a lot of the sports fans see the sport that you're in charge of, wrestling, as a huge prospect, as probably the biggest source of medals, some of them think. So maybe to help us to reduce our expectations or make it higher, what should we expect?
I'm going to be brutally honest in my assessment of what you're going to hear from me. I went to Canada in 1994. And by 2000, I became Canada's first world champion. No, 1999, I became Canada's first world champion. And they've been in the World Championship since 1901. I became Canada's Olympic champion, and they've been in the Olympics, I think, 1907 or 1908. That goes to tell you how difficult it is to win an Olympic gold medal. I was their first ever. And we're talking about a system that is almost flawless in terms of funding and everything that goes with it. A Canadian athlete only waits for the time you are going to go to the airport when they give you a coupon for your taxi to go to the airport. You don't worry about visas. You don't worry about anything. And since I've been Olympic champion from 2000 to now, we've not had one Canadian athlete, male, that has even won a bronze medal in wrestling. That goes to tell you that wrestling is so entrenched in some systems, like the Germans, the Americans, the Iranians, the Cubans, the Americans, to a little extent, the Canadians in female wrestling, that it is very difficult to win medals. When you start seeing someone getting at that level, it's because of the work we put in. I got Adekure in 2009, and Adekure has virtually been to everywhere. She's been to the cadet African Championships, Junior Worlds, Seniors, and from 2009 till now, we've paraded her everywhere. We've done the same with Blessing Oborodudu. Those are probably the two top athletes that we can be expecting medals from. Both of them, fortunately, are ranked number 2 in the world. But let us also realize that at their level are probably about 6-7 athletes. I had the same thing. I met someone who was 5th in the world in my in my quarterfinal match, an Iranian in 2000, and we wrestled 2-2. It was a referee's decision. So the point I'm trying to make it can get very close. Yes, we have some chances to win medals. Is it a gold? Is it a bronze? Is it a silver? I don't know. It will depend on the day. It will depend on our preparations going forward from now till late July. One size fits all medicines will not work for every sport. Let us look at unique situations and treat them the way they are. Let us not say we're all going to Germany to go and train, because Germany does not do everything for every sport. So look at the sports. Look at what has been working. Look at the best preparation for all of them. And God willing, if the day comes and everything goes according to plan, I think we can have a medal or multiple medals in wrestling. But that depends on the scenario on the day.
All right, that's a good place to leave it on the show tonight. Daniel Igali, President of the Wrestling Federation of Nigeria and also Commissioner for Youth and Sports in Bayelsa State. I want to thank you for your time on the show, and this is wishing you all the best ahead of the Olympics.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that's it. We'll come back to talk some more on the things Daniel Igali has said and do our post-mortem of the National Sports Festival. But we need to go on a break right about now and return for more on Sports Tonight. All right, welcome back. All right, guys in the studio, of course, listen to the conversation with Daniel Igali and, of course, some of the other things in between. Bolu, before we begin to react to some of the things that Daniel Igali said, as a matter of fact, let's start by reacting, then we'll continue with our post-mortem. It burst our bubble. That's what I will say. I mean, a lot of us say, oh, wrestling will probably give us 4, and it brought us down to hurt. And I think we should be realistic. Listening to him now, I think we should be very realistic with our expectations from the wrestlers.
One of the things I tell people is if you go to a football tournament, just try your best to get to semi-final. Then from there, almost anything can happen. Now, even I didn't even know Modra is not number 2. I thought she was number 1. So because you're ranked number 1 is not a guarantee that automatically you win. We've seen world number 1 losing to an unranked athlete. We've seen it over time. So and like you rightly said, what happens on the day? There are preparations beforehand. The talk of all comers, everybody wants shoe fits all, like you rightly said, doesn't work. For example, if Nigeria is best trained for boxing, if we bring all athletes to Nigeria, boxers will succeed, others may not. So it depends. If you know, we don't have to pack everyone together. Different competitions can go to different places. Many of us are expecting medals, in quote, from wrestling. But he has rightly said he does not guarantee. He didn't say he has been he didn't say he's the greatest wrestler for Canada. But he said it point blank. Before him, about 100 years, nobody won. After him, no one has won. It means sometimes
that's a near flawless system.
Okay, near flawless is good enough. You can easily say flawless because they have almost everything you need for preparation from the tender age, support, finance. You are not worried about, will I get paid? You are not worried about being protesting after the event.
Go here,
just
go there.
Go there, succeed. So they are not winning. And not that they are not trying, not that they are not preparing well. It just happens that some players are better, and sometimes your psyche as well. Remember, for example, no matter how good you are, if you are going to athletics, and you get to the final, then you see Americans, you see Jamaicans. Sometimes it plays in your mind that these guys are the winners. So what happens on the day is very, very important. It's good to be hopeful. He agreed that we can get something, but he's not sure if it's gold or whatever. Let's just go there, prepare well. Preparation is key. 100 days is far, but before you blink, it's here already.
All right.
So prepare well, get to the event, and let's see what happens on the day.
Ikena, I mean, your thoughts?
If Daniel Igali is not confident enough, I've lost hope, really, because.
But it was a reality check.
No, it was a reality check, and I think wrestling has done so well in the last 5-6 years. What he has done for wrestling, it should be emulated by all around the sports. Yeah, he has done well, and almost, if not trying to beat this, almost single-handedly sourcing for funds to boost this particular sport. So, and he has made a case, like he said something which took me back, that when you're a federation president, you understand.
Yeah.
You understand? It's really...
We know some of these things.
Yes, he knows some of these things. And he has love for the sports. And he could have been wrestling in Canada, helping them grow their sports.
Yeah.
But he came back to Bayelsa State, and he's helping wrestling. In the last Commonwealth, we got so many medals from wrestling. But it doesn't depend on these 2 athletes alone, the Okorodu and the other. There should be more persons. There should be more athletes. We should be grooming. There should be a conveyor belt of athletes coming from that.
He said something that scared me, although we won't have time on this show to talk about it. He said if these guys exit the scene, he's really scared because we're not doing enough to replace them. But guys, let's move on and look at the larger picture, because that's what we're here to do. Let me start with Ikena. He answered the question when I asked him, but you guys are the analysts, you have to help us out. The National Sports Festival, the way it is, as it is, has it served its purpose? Do you think it needs a tweak? I know you already listened to Daniel Igali, but what's your opinion? Has it served its purpose? Do we need to tweak it? Should it continue?
I think it's the only sport that hasn't seen any improvement
so far.
Let's look at other Olympics. There are things they will introduce. Innovations. They will introduce even some other events alongside it to feed off the Olympics. A lot of them. You see, let's take FIFA World Cup for example. It was just the men's World Cup back in the days. All of a sudden, you have under 21, you have under 17. Yeah. They're talking about schoolboys. They have women's. Women's have grown. Women's in 1991 was just one. It was just a women's game. Now they have under 21. They have under 17. They're talking. So a lot of things feed up. They're growing. But what has National Sports Festival done in the last decade, in the last 20 years, since 1973 has been created, apart from the states participating? What other things have we seen? This one, I understand. Yes, we just wanted to do it. It's not even on TV. It's not, we didn't even see it. Apart from some of our colleagues that went to Benin to started feeding us with some of the information, we didn't know anything that was happening in Benin. You understand? So how have we grown? Apart from people coming and celebrating their state, what other things have we done to improve the National Sports Festival? Like we said, next year is going to Delta State. Can we find another way of hosting the competition? Can it be regional? Can it be? Can states do co-hosting? Let us have a robust event.
Let's not be dogmatic about how we get all of these things done. I don't know if Bolu shares those views as well.
Yeah, one of the things we should ask them is, what is the event about? Are we doing something like just the Olympics, everyone compete to win alone? Or are we looking at events where we groom talents for the Olympic Games? Or are we looking at competition between states alone? We have to know, there has to be a blueprint. For example, look at the 10-year-old Stephanie won gold. And she said something that she wished to go to the Olympics in the next 10 years.
And emulate Simone Biles.
She's already 20 in 10 years. By then, we see 10,
she'll be saying 11, goodbye to the sport.
Exactly. Yes. We see 11, 10-year-old girls, especially from the Chinese, that compete at the Olympic Games. So what are we going? Someone like that, if the idea is compete, yes, but at the same time groom, someone should have picked her up already. Federation should not even be with the state anymore. Not forgetting her education. It's also important. Going to school, but someone should pick her up already, because if she's good enough to win gold medal in the National Sports Festival, she just needs grooming. So why are we hosting the event? Are we just doing, okay, well, it's the sport festival, we missed for
against the back, guys, quickly, because we need to situate properly. And I like what Daniel Igali says, that there are many ways to look at it. If it is against the backdrop of promoting peace and unity, then you have to say that it has achieved its purpose.
Yes.
But for every sports lover, enthusiast, journalist, with administrator, whatever, you know that there should be more than this.
It should be more than that. Because if you asked me a question and he said it, they need competition. Aside this, they will go back and be redundant. I know some boxers. I was in communication with some boxers in Abia State. They are actually doing nothing. They're waiting for the sports festival. After that, nothing else happens.
For the next 2 years.
For the next 2 years, nothing else happens. It's not right for a sportsman. There should be at least 6, 7 competitions within the year. Then, by the time they get to the sports event, you're already hearing their names. Oh, Abia State is coming with, let's say, Patrick Peters is coming to compete for Abia State. You'll be expecting to see him, because you know what he has achieved so far, the competitions he has won within the year. You understand? So there should be more to be done to improve the national sport. It's not about states, the governor wishing them well, giving them money, and they go and participate. It should be beyond that. That's my own take.
Could that be the reasons why we tend not to do so well at global events?
Definitely affects. You can't have one event in 2 years and expect to compete. I remember I said all the time, Michael Phelps, when he said he was retiring after Brazil in Rio in 2014, then suddenly we heard he was going to 2016. No, he retired in 2012. Then suddenly we heard he was coming for the Rio. He started preparing, I think, 2 or 3 years before. That's someone that has won everything.
Most decorated
Nobody has an Olympic gold medal. He still prepared for like 2, 3 years. It means he knows the importance of preparation. So you can't just bring, okay, after now, we know football, other guys will go to their clubs and everything. But for other events, what are they doing? Remember, we were talking about the controversy of they must not host MON, they must not, no. This is what we want. Let there be competitions for these guys. The foreign guys, what they do is, we know about football because everyone talks about football, but follow those other sports. You will know that at least once in 2 months, there's an event for each sport. So the sports festival is meant to bring out the best, not try to groom. When you come for the sports festival, when everyone is well prepared, you won't be thinking about mercenaries and all those things. You know when you are coming for some certain events for the pros, it's for the pros. When it's for certain events for the up-and-coming arts, you know this is what it's meant for. So the federations need to step up. Yes, I know finance, funding, everything. That's why I rightly said they all need so much love in terms of funding from the sports ministry. Because yeah, even if football goes to nobody, in Nigeria, football is all about. So we'll find ways to get money.
Before we came on, I was trying to find out something. I said, okay, fine. They have issues with funding. That's a given. Don't even have websites.
Even those that have, are they active?
Are they even active?
You know, we could
How
go.
do we know these people?
We could go on and on and on, and this postmortem is not something we can do in one day. Yeah. We will continue. For those who don't know, but it's already out there, Delta State will be the host of the next National Sports Festival. It's going to be next year, 2022. So we'll try to set the agenda, what should be done, the changes that should be made, and hopefully Nigerian sports will be better for it. But we need to move on the show. We will revert if there's something new to talk about with regards to the National Sports Festival. Now that we're done with the National Sports Festival, the next big thing is the Tokyo Olympics, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, to be held in 2021. I always like to add that. But let's just tell you, officially, 99 days to the start of the Olympics, Tokyo 2020, that is officially. It appears like everything is beginning after the storm. There's a calm, and there's a calm now, and it appears like everything is going on according to plan. Let's chuck up with the torch relay journey. Of course, the torch relay journey, continues. It's in the Tokushima region right now, and there you have pictures. We saw what happened in Osaka, where people were not lining up on the streets. Cases were coming up. I think it was on Friday. We talk about the emergency situation in Tokyo, and they're trying to bring the cases down. Usually, all of these things you're seeing, people would line the streets.
I pity them. Seriously.
But these guys just want to. I don't know why I'm saying this. Japan, as a country, I'm very happy it's Japan and not any other country, because if there's any country in the world that has survived countless number of problems, natural and man-made, it's Japan. They've survived, tsunamis, they've survived world wars, a lot. But I'm very happy they are handling this well. But the scare of COVID-19, if the cases, that's where we left it on Friday. But let me ask, Bolu wasn't here on Friday. Do you think if they're not able to get a handle on the cases, we might have issues?
I don't think we will, to a level. I think the citizens are understanding now that this thing will happen. Remember, there was a time they were complaining, they did a survey, and about a larger percentage said,
especially Tokyo residents.
They said they don't want it. But it looks like everyone now knows that this thing is coming. There's nothing we can do. Probably they're also pitying the state that, okay, we'll spend lots of money.
Billions.
These events can't just go like that. It got so bad that even IOC had to sponsor, spend money on so many things. Billions, not in naira, in dollars. So I think they feel, let these events go. If it means, the truth is, it won't spike everywhere in Japan. If some certain cities probably, for whatever reason, have a rise, those cities will probably go down. Like you saw in some
full lockdown.
Yeah, we saw some persons cheering them along, and some were completely dry. So everyone knows the Olympic Games is coming. On the 99 days to go, nothing is changing it. Some states have said, or countries, we are not going. But again, you can feel sad for them, but if a country like America says we are not going, it means to a level. At least Nigeria can be happy we may win basketball. Some states can be happy. So it's about, when some says no, there is definitely another open door.
It's an opportunity.
But from where I'm standing, I think the Olympic Games will happen this year.
And one good thing is, maybe they say hindsight is 2020 vision. Maybe the use of Games Village is also an advantage, because it will form like a bubble.
Yeah,
we look unlike football, we are World Cup, we have people, they'll stay in different hotels.
Yep.
Which one, they'll stay in the Games Village, and once they go in, there's no coming out.
There are rules. If you break it, they send you away.
All right. Today is 99 days, but yesterday was 100 days. Some activities to spice the occasion. The city of Tokyo was lit up. That's what you have in your picture. Also in Rio, I always like to see, that iconic statue in Rio was lit up just when it was 100 days to the Olympics. Brazil are not without their issues too, in terms of COVID-19, but this shows you that Brazil wants to be in Tokyo in spite of everything that is happening. Of course, they are letting us know it's 100 days, the countdown. So, Ikena, it's upon us. Whatever issues, we might just have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. And like one one good thing about this, that's what we say there's positive there. One good thing about the sports festival is we're using it as a preparation. Some of the athletes that came for the events will also attend the Olympics. So they are using it as a preparatory event.
Guys, I want you to comment about this. Some said it's laughable. I don't know if you think about it. Russia, their athletes, their anthem will not be played, their flag will not be displayed, but yet they have found a way to design the clothes that their athletes will wear, the Russian flag, their emblem and everything, not on it. But, I mean, let's not fool ourselves. When you see them in this, you know it's Russians. You know it's going to be the Russians.
Because of the issue they have
smart way.
Let's be sure first if IOC will even accept the color and everything. Even those that are representing Russia now, they will be probably happiest people on earth because you are not coming there as a Russian.
Yeah.
But no, as much as you are winning for your country, you're also winning for yourself. So any Russian that wins gold medal,
they went there in the last one.
Exactly. So and I remember the state doping support. So it's a huge blow on them. But again, I like that it's for a country like Russia. So it sends a message. So not lesser country, but at least in quote, the countries are not up to Russia.
That you're not going to get away.
You won't get away with it. And again, from the colors we can see, you don't need to be told that's Russia. But let's see what the IOC will say. They will tell them change this color. Or they allow them to go.
But it appears that before they did this, there probably had been some level of communication. I mean, those three colors, you know, it's Russia.
I know, but that's what we are saying. They sat down to think about it. They have improved on something. That's what we are saying. They have found a way to make
without incurring the wrath
that people will recognize them when
this is Russia.
This is Russia when they come to the field. That's what we're talking about. At least they sat down, you know, among themselves, instead of just everybody wearing one color or the other into the. But how can we? Yes, we are not going to come as Russia, but at least when someone sees us on TV,
this is Russia.
This is Russia.
Okay,
it will be easily identified.
All right, let's go to Ukraine and talk about Ukraine. Australia the other time told us, no, we are not going to put athletes on the emergency list. They should wait for their turn like others. That's what Australia said. But Ukraine is having none of that. Ukraine has started vaccinating their athletes for the Tokyo Olympics. That's what they're doing to ensure their safety. So I'm going to ask you guys, now that Ukraine has done it, do you think all other countries should start bumping things forward and say, yeah, initially we said we're not going to do it, but we might have to do it because these guys will return to our country, and if there's any issue, it's going to... So Ukraine, not joking around, they've put these guys on top. They're going to represent the country, and it's an emergency situation as far as they represent the country.
They're putting the map of the country on the world. They're going to represent the country. So there should priority. They should be, because they have to, you know, get the first vaccination, get the second one before they go. So they should bump them forward and give them the vaccination so that they'll be prepared. So, and it won't, because now we're talking about 99 days. So they should start preparing instead of waiting for the vaccination or whether they're going to take it or not. Now, once they get through it, they can start preparing very, very well for the competition to come. So I think they should be bumped forward. They should be given that priority.
Do you think other countries will join? So, you know, there's this argument about there are people that need it more, the aged people and all that. But some will also say this is an emergency as well.
Well, there are people that need it more, yes, but there are probably to a level enough vaccines to go around for those that need it more.
For advanced countries, let's situate it for advanced countries.
Well, maybe, but again, it's they say that there are priorities, emergencies, maybe medical personnel, journalists, even though the journalists here is not the same way. But if a country steps up, it means everyone is okay, well, maybe we can do the same thing. You know, there are 2 vaccines you take. It takes about 6 weeks or thereabout between both. So 99 days is just maybe 10 weeks away or thereabout. So you need to check and monitor. If you don't start giving for emergency sake now, it may be too late by the time it's getting close to maybe 50 days to the Olympic Games. So I think someone needed to take the lead. Now that a country has stepped up, maybe other, but definitely not all countries will say those. Some will still, okay, we are standing by what we want. But hopefully, we don't have any COVID case for the athletes during
all right. And so a lot of people have told their athletes, stay in the queue, stay in line. When it's your turn, take it. And some countries say, we will get you vaccinated. That's the story. Unique situation we find ourselves in. We need to go on a break right about now. When we return from that break, we'll talk about Van Dresser and the story a lot of us are not happy to talk about in the Nigeria National League. And of course, we will tell you what is going on in the Europa League. Arsenal have put 4 goals past Slavia Prague. When we come back, we'll talk to you about all of this. All right, a few minutes to the end of the show, but let's talk about Van Dressa. I know there are two sides of a coin, but Van Dressa FC have put out a statement, a very damning statement, and of course, the story is that they're pulling out of the Nigeria National League. A very, like I said, a very damning statement, and of course, we don't take sides on the show, but when you read the contents of what they wrote, you feel sad for Nigerian football. Let me go to Ikena. We're pressed for time, but just an overview of what happened. We'll talk about it extensively, but I'm sad. I'm sad that this is happening.
I'm sad too, and I saw it coming. I saw it coming because when you are, maybe you are the one or two amongst the rest of, you're just apart from the rest of the team, that there's trouble brewing. I don't think they were comfortable with the whole arrangement of the NNL. So, and I don't think the NNL, the teams, other teams with the NNL were comfortable with their presence. So there was something definitely not right with that combination. And this is a team that's, you know, people call them Van Dressa, fine. But this is a team that's trying to boost the image. Innovation, boost the image of the NNL. I said, normally, jokingly, I say the NNL is a jungle. I usually say it, but this is a team that has made people follow the NNL. Even the way they see their games, the live games, I've followed them, I've seen them, seen their branding, I've seen everything. It's a big loss for the NNL. Maybe they don't know what they have done, but it's a big loss for them. That's the whole. That's the truth.
All right, Europa League results will come up on your screen. While we wait, that Bolu, a quick one on Van Dressa.
Well, one of the key statements was we decided to record ourselves, live stream ourselves, 8 cameras, and some centers they didn't allow them to bring cameras. They said they went to Go Round. That Go Round told them they have to pay 1 million naira to bring in their cameras and everything. And they spoke with the CEO of the NNL. Said, well, just negotiate with them. That's their statement. I hope the NNL will come out with maybe a different statement or something.
So that for sake of balance,
it's not looking good.
It's not looking good. Europa, as we go, dying stages of the game, we have to keep it to this level. Arsenal have put 4 goals past Slavia Prague. Villarreal have scored 2 against Dinamo Zagreb. You can see the aggregate score on your screen. Manchester United have scored 2 goals. They're cruising. Ajax and Roma is 1-1 now. That will make it 3-2 on aggregate. So that's the situation. Bolu, it's going to be, if he ends this way, it's going to be Arsenal, Villarreal, Roma, and
if
it's surely going to
I'm sure of Arsenal, Villarreal. I'm sure United, so it's not dependent on who wins before. Because if Ajax scored one more goal, that's extra time. But aside that, I think the other 3 games are done.
All right, guys, I want to say a big thank you to you for being on the show today.
Thank you very much.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. We'll do this some other time.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your day. One more edition of the show for the week. Enjoy the rest of your day. We're back again tomorrow. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Bye-bye now.